All right, I'm going to start. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brad Walker. I'm the chair of the Boston Landmarks Commission. I'd like to call this meeting to order on Tuesday, March 24th at 6:04 p.m. With us tonight are Commissioners Jacques, Freeman, Orlando, Gagno, Ward Hyatt, Haney, and myself. Also on the call are Elizabeth Sherva, who is Deputy Director of the Office of Historic Preservation, and Joe Cornish, who is Design Review Director. And I think I saw Jennifer, right? Jennifer Gaugler is here. She is a staff historian. And is Kathy here? Not at the moment.
Not right now. She may join us later.
I see Commissioner Amadeo in the waiting room. So Commissioner Amadeo, welcome. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at www.zoom.gov/. Excuse me. I'm going to start that all over. This hearing will be held virtually and not in person. You can participate in the hearing by going to www.zoom.gov. Excuse me, www.zoom.gov/J/160-364-4859, or by calling 646-828-7666 and entering the meeting ID 160-364-4859. You can also submit written comments or questions to blc@boston.gov. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link, which I just mentioned, or using the phone number, which I just mentioned, in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28th, 2025 amendment extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027. We are conducting this meeting online to ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission. The public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. At this time, I'd like to ask any media or elected officials present to identify yourself now, state your name, title, and affiliation. In order to do that, you'll need to use the raise your hand function in the Zoom platform. I'll give you a minute to find that. I think it's under the React heart thing at the bottom on most screens now. Jump in as I move forward if you need to. I'll start by summarizing this evening's agenda, which is rather brief. We're going to start by ratifying the meeting minutes of the March 10th, 2026 meeting. We will then summarize the design review administrative approval items that have been handled at a staff level, and that will be a vote item here. And then as we move on to study reports and designations, we have one, which is the Copley Plaza Hotel in Back Bay. Two prospective votes there, one to accept the study report and one to designate. And then staff updates and adjournment. So I'll move on to our first item, which is the ratification of the meeting minutes. Meeting minutes for March 10th were distributed to the commission prior to this meeting, and I'd open the floor now to any commissioners wishing to make comments or corrections on those minutes. Hearing none, I would accept the motion to accept the meeting minutes as they were submitted.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second that, Jeffrey Haney.
Jeffrey Haney, and that was Justine Orlando.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Gagno.
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So we now move on to design review. The design review subcommittee did not meet today because there were no agenda items requiring full design review by the subcommittee. We do have several administrative review items. These are items that were determined by staff to not require the full review of the subcommittee, but they do require a vote. And I'd like to ask Subcommittee Chairman Justine Orlando if you would mind reading those into the record since they haven't been read in at the subcommittee level.
Absolutely. Application 23.0855, Boston Public Gardens, extend 2024 approval for the renovation of existing tool shed and construction of a new parks facilities building with minor landscape changes to accommodate new programming to 3/6/2027. Application 26.0708, 15 Channel Center Street, repair existing entrance canopy and repaint steel support beams. Application number 260703, Christian Science Church Complex Plaza, remove and replace brick pavers at Plaza as part of an ongoing waterproofing project. Application 26.0724, City Square Park, Charlestown, improvements to City Square Park, including restoration of World War II Memorial, restoration of bronze plaques, resetting of brick pathways, and installation of root barriers. Application 26.0700, Old Corner Bookstore at 277 Washington Street, rebuild non-historic infill masonry wall between 277 Washington Street, the Cunningham House, and Pie Alley Garage. Application 26.0711, Old North Church at 193 Salem Street, rebuild steps at Lantern Garden. Application 260696, 142 St. Botolph Street, remove and replace 13 windows with dark bronze Fibrex windows. And finally, application 26.0713, Quincy Market at 206 South Market Street, exterior maintenance of existing windows and glass sheds in the North, South, and Quincy Market buildings. Existing windows will be repaired and painted along with the glass shed structure, mullions, garage doors, and entry doors.
Thank you, Justine. Excuse me, at this point, I'd open the floor to any commissioner that has a comment or a question on these administrative review items. Hearing none, I would accept a motion to accept the administrative review items as presented.
I'll make that motion, Brad.
Thank you. And a second, please.
We'll second that again, Jeffrey Haney.
Thank you, Jaffrey. Commissioner Jacques. Commissioner Jacques. I'll come back to her. Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Gagno.
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Thank you. And I vote yes. So the administrative review items are approved, and we move on to the Copley Plaza Hotel. 1 second, please. So tonight we will be considering the designation of the Copley Plaza Hotel as a Boston landmark. The Boston Landmarks Commission is required to hold a public hearing on all proposed designations following the completion of a study report, which describes the significance of the property and the standards and criteria by which future changes can be evaluated. The study report is made available for public review and comment for at least 3 weeks before the hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to hear findings of the study report, to hear testimony from interested parties, and to vote on the proposed designation unless the chair decides to extend the vote to a later date so that the commission can acquire more information. And I would now ask Boston Landmarks Commission staff historian Jennifer Gaugler to make a brief presentation summarizing the findings of the study.
Thank you, Brad. On January 24th, 1989, the Boston Landmarks Commission accepted a petition to study the designation as a landmark under Chapter 772 of the Acts of 1975 as amended. On March 3rd, 2026, the Boston Landmarks Commission posted a study report on the proposed landmark, and I will now present a brief summary from the study report. The Copley Plaza Hotel, which opened in 1912, is historically significant to the city, the Commonwealth, and the New England region as one of Boston's most prominent hotels for over 110 years. The hotel has notable historical associations with the evolution of the hospitality industry, as it was the first hotel in the world to have an international reservation system and to accept credit cards, in addition to other advances. The hotel has hosted many notable events and guests, including most American presidents since 1912 and many foreign dignitaries and entertainment celebrities. Designed by architect Henry Janeway Hardenberg, the Copley Plaza Hotel is also an architecturally significant example of the Italian Renaissance Revival style, articulated as a palazzo of pale brick and rusticated limestone blocks with a massive, graceful swell front and flanking wings. The Copley Plaza Hotel is a character-defining element of Copley Square, which is also bordered by the Boston Public Library and Trinity Church. By the 1870s, Copley Square had begun to emerge as a new civic center lined by monumental institutional and religious buildings. The design of the hotel harmonizes with the adjacent Boston Public Library by McKim, Mead, and White, completed in 1895. As you see here on the right side of the slide, the proposed boundary of the designation corresponds to the boundary of the parcel, which also corresponds closely to the footprint of the building. As you see on the left, the proposed designation also includes certain interior spaces that you see indicated here in yellow. These are all located on the main lobby level. The exceptional interior of the hotel, which I'll show you throughout the rest of my slides, is significant for its complex first floor layout and elaborate decorative finishes throughout multiple spaces. The interior treatments include the use of mosaic, marble, plasterwork, painted murals, and other decorative finishes by skilled designers and craftsmen. And in the 1970s, the original first floor plans and historic photographs were used to accurately restore many original features of the hotel. So as you'll see in the study report, we tried to provide a lot of information to the commissioners, both today and in the future, about alterations that have been made to the interior to help guide future decisions. So I'll just go through some of the interior spaces that we have proposed for inclusion in the designation. Actually, all of the interior spaces are pictured in this slideshow. So the first one is Peacock Alley. So the hotel's foyers and concourses are the visitor's first introduction to the grandeur of the interior of the hotel. You can see that the floors are clad in this beautiful multicolored mosaic tile. The walls have decorative crown molding, but they're largely simple planar surfaces in contrast to the elaborate arches, pendentives, and skylights of the ceiling. We did specify in the report that the light fixtures are not original. The lobby, the most prominent architectural feature here is the elaborate coffered ceiling into which are set skylights and barrel vaults. Also prominent here are the marble columns with foliate and palm capitals. The front desk, I don't think it's pictured in this image, but it's not original and it has been replaced and relocated several times, as we noted in the report. This is the grand ballroom. This is the most magnificent room in the hotel and also one of the least altered. It's very sumptuously decorated with molding and plasterwork on the walls and ceiling. On the south side, as you see pictured here, there's a mezzanine with service space below. And at the west end, there's a raised stage. And on the opposite end, there's stairs leading up to the rostrum of the ballroom, which is also included in the designation. This is the oval room, which is distinctive for its oval shape and these arched niches that march around the perimeter of the room. We did note in the study report that there have been substantial alterations made to this room, and the altered features are not considered character defining. That includes the raised floors on the north and south side. You can see some of that here. The large seashell on the stage, the sculptural shells at the top of the wall panels, and then the ceiling mural as well is not the original version. However, we did feel that this room was worthy of being included in the designation for its original features. This is the St. James room. The St. James room is particularly notable for its decorative ceiling, including a border molding and a large elaborate center medallion. And the room also has raised wall paneling and doorways with prominent entablatures surmounted by broken pediments. This room has been little altered from its original appearance. And this is the Singleton room, which is notable for its vaulted ceilings, its fireplace and wood wainscoting, paneling, and molding. There have been some alterations identified in this space, including the opening up of the wall on either side of the fireplace to create doorways. But we felt that there were enough original features in the room to merit it being included in the designation. And so in conclusion, the Copley Plaza Hotel meets the following criteria for designation as a landmark as established in Section 4 of Chapter 772. So it is included in the National Register as a contributing building to the Back Bay Historic District, which was listed in 1973. It also is significant to the city, the Commonwealth, and the region as one of Boston's most prominent hotels, and with various advances in the hospitality industry and the hosting of many notable events and guests. And lastly, it is a monumental and architecturally significant example of the Italian Renaissance Revival style, known for structural innovations and exceptionally elaborate interiors. So the Boston Landmarks Commission staff recommends that the commission designate the Copley Plaza Hotel as a landmark. And the effect of this designation shall be that review by the Boston Landmarks Commission and/or commission staff shall be required for any proposed alterations to the exterior envelope of the building and the specified interior spaces as you see shown here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Sorry to make you jump right back in, but can you summarize for us any written public comment that's been received?
Yes, so we did receive some comments, so I will read them into the record. We received 2 written comments from the general public. One said, "What a great legacy in Boston to be preserved." And the other said, "It is imperative that the Copley Plaza be preserved as a landmark. Not only is it a magnificent piece of architecture with glorious workmanship, it's a welcoming and usable place of respite for locals and visitors alike. Moreover, its presence anchors Copley Square in the Back Bay, providing a sense of place. The Back Bay just wouldn't be the Back Bay without it. Please preserve this landmark for future generations locally and the world over." And then we also received a letter from Tabish Siddiqui, the general manager of the Fairmont Copley Plaza Hotel, on behalf of the property owner Iconic Copley Plaza Hotel LLC. And they did request that we read the letter into the record, so I will do that now. I'll just skip the intro paragraph, but since its construction in 1912, the Copley Plaza Hotel has played a key role in the history of Copley Square. We take seriously our role as stewards of this important building and support the building's designation as a Boston landmark. We are aware that the proposed designation is not limited to the building's exterior, but also includes prominent interior spaces regularly visited by the public, including the hotel lobby, grand ballroom, foyers, and the oval room. We support the inclusion of these prominent spaces along with the building exterior as part of the designation. For the past year and a half, we have worked with the BLC staff in a cooperative and collaborative manner in the development of the study report. We appreciate that many of our comments and suggested edits have been addressed and incorporated into the report. We are particularly pleased that the proposed standards and criteria allow for a potential rooftop expansion. We are further pleased that the report excludes the oak long bar and kitchen from the proposed designation. We are, however, disappointed that the inclusion of the oval room is not limited to the room's shape and volume as we had requested to BLC staff. I'll just go back to that image. So, oops, sorry, you can reference that real quick. That's this room. The study report notes that the substantial alterations that have occurred in the room, including the raised floors on the north and south sides of the room, the large seashell on the stage, the sculptural shells at the top and bottom of the wall panels, the scalloped infill panels in the upper portions of the arches, and the ceiling mural. As a result of these alterations, we request that the designation for the oval room be limited to the room's oval shape and open volume. And we are also disappointed that the St. James and Singleton rooms are included among the proposed designated interior spaces. As expressed to the BLC staff, we do not believe these two rooms retain the same high level of integrity as other spaces. As noted in the report, alterations to these rooms include, for the St. James room, changes to light fixtures, changes from the historic light-colored surface treatments to dark finishes, changes to the wall panel mirrors and mirrors over the door pediments from multi-pane mirrors to single-pane mirrors, and flooring changes. And lastly, for the Singleton room, also changes to light fixtures, changes from the historic light-colored surface treatments to dark finishes, opening of the wall on either side of the fireplace to create two doorways, removal of the pediments above the doors on the corridor side of the room, and flooring changes. Furthermore, the St. James and Singleton rooms they're on the bottom left of this floor plan, are more private in nature and are not as commonly visited by the general public or hotel guests. For these reasons, we request that the St. James and Singleton rooms be excluded from the interior spaces proposed for designation. We look forward to continuing to work with the Commission and its staff in a cooperative and collaborative manner as the study report advances through the designation process. As noted above, we take seriously our role as the stewards of this important building. Thank you in advance for your consideration of our request. And then last but not least, we received a letter from Meg Mainzer-Cohen, the President and Executive Director of the Back Bay Association, expressing support for the designation and also requesting that the Commission closely reviews and considers the request of the Fairmont Copley Plaza. Such considerations will maintain that the hotel has the flexibility necessary to continue to make updates and renovations as required, ensuring its ongoing success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jen. We're going to now move on to verbal testimony. As I think most of you know, we do this in a specific order. But before we do that, I'm going to ask at this time if there are any legal counsel present representing any party to this matter. Would you raise your hand and identify yourself as such? Not seeing anyone. So for anyone who's new to this, bear with me for a moment. We take testimony in the following order as specified in the Boston Landmarks Commission regulation. And we'll call these out one at a time, but I'll go through the list for you. First, we take testimony from elected officials, then from the Planning Department and Massachusetts Historic Commission, who have statutory review responsibility, then from the property owner, then from those speaking or providing written testimony at the hearing in support of designation, then from those speaking or providing written testimony in the hearing in opposition to designation, then from those wishing to comment but not necessarily in support or in opposition, and then from anyone with questions or rebuttals on the testimony. If you wish to speak when I call your category, please raise your hand in the platform using the raise your hand function, or press *9 if you're calling in on a phone. When you are recognized, please state your name and your relationship to the property. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes for the petitioner spokesperson, 5 minutes for the owner spokesperson, and 2 minutes per person for others. Comments should be focused on the validity of the study report and the criteria for designation. We do not take public comment about ownership, use, or future development plans. So I'll go back through that list for a second. Are there any elected officials present this evening that wish to comment or ask questions? If I skip over your category too fast, raise your hand anyway, and we'll get you. Anyone from the Planning Department or Massachusetts Historic Commission?
Don't see anyone.
All right. Anyone from the property owner? One second and you'll be unmuted.
Tabish, you should be unmuted.
Thank you. I also have Doug Kelleher here with me, who's from Epsilon Associates, who would like to say something too. But before I pass it on to Doug, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Jennifer Gogler and Liz Sherva from the Boston Landmarks Commission, who were really collaborative and responsive through this process. So big thank you to that. Big learning experience from me. And like we stated in our letter, we take our responsibility of as being custodians of this property very seriously. So with that, I'll pass it on to Doug Kelleher, who's also here.
Doug, I've asked you to unmute yourself.
There, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is Doug Kelleher, principal here at Epsilon Associates, and we've had the pleasure of working with the folks at the Fairmont Copley for the past year and a half throughout this process. And just wanted to reiterate Tavish's his comments and appreciation to the staff. I think it's been a very cooperative process to date. We've been able to share a lot of information back and forth, a lot of historic documentation of the hotel, and also, tour the hotel together and talk specifically about the current conditions in the hotel. As Tavish had noted in his letter, the hotel is in support of the designation, both the exterior and interior designation. But just to reiterate a couple points, the request on behalf of the hotel is that the designation as it relates to the oval room simply be limited to the shape of the room and the volume of the space, given that the finishes within the room have seen a fair amount of changes over the years. In addition, the requests for the exclusion of the St. James and Singleton room is sort of two-part. It's as a result of some of the modifications that have been made, as you probably saw in the study report. Both of these rooms originally had a much lighter feel to them. They were had a light paint color on the walls and ceilings. And not only has the finishes changed, but there's been a fair amount of alterations within the space as far as creating additional doorways, particularly in the Singleton room, flooring changes, and removal of door pediments. But also the St. James and Singleton rooms, unlike some of the other spaces under consideration for designation, are much more private in nature. While they are, open to guests, they get much less foot traffic, I'll say, than some of the other spaces that are more commonly visited, whether it be the lobby or the grand ballroom. So for those reasons, the hotel requests that these two rooms be excluded from the designation. And also, I don't have to point out the obvious to you commissioners, but interior designations are fairly rare, and we recognize that as well. Again, the hotel is supportive of the designation of the more prominent spaces. Again, the lobby, grand ballroom, foyers, and other spaces. But for these two more private rooms, again, St. James and Singleton rooms, the request is that those be excluded from the designation.
Thank you. Anyone else on the ownership side wishing to speak? I'll give you a minute or two. If not, we'll move on to anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in support of the designation. Jamie, bear with us a second.
Jamie, you should be able to unmute.
Good evening, commissioners. Can you hear me?
We can?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jamie McNeil. I'm the Boston. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of chatter about this on the property, and we just want to go on record in support of the landmarking and actually asked that the long bar, Venetian room, and Copley room and Sergeant room also be included. Don't want to slow down the designation, don't want to slow down acceptance of the study report, but in particular the long bar. You know, it looks like in the study report there's you know, there have been alterations clearly since 1912, but the ceiling, you know, there's aspects of the walls and the especially the metal rail in the middle where the carousel used to be. It's often pointed out by the employees to guests and travelers to the city. So these are these are the little things that guests and travelers to Boston absolutely love and adore, and they're really the fabric of our city. So again, don't want to slow down the designation, but you know, absolutely support the designation of the interior spaces and in particular the long bar. If there's a way to maybe designation light on those aspects that have remained since the original building, that would be fantastic. But thank you to the landmark staff, fantastic report, and to the commissioners, and we'll submit a written testimony as well. Thank you.
Jamie, maybe it was just me, but about the second sentence of your comment, I think you were telling us sort of who you were, what your credentials were, and it cut out.
My name is Jamie McNeil. I'm the general agent for the Hotel Employees Union, Local 26 here in Boston. We represent about 12,000 hotel employees. Sorry, I'm on an older laptop here. Apologies.
Nope, it was fine. I just didn't hear that part. Thank you. Anyone present who wishes to speak in opposition to this designation? Anyone wishing to be heard, not necessarily in support or in opposition? Anyone wishing to comment or rebut the prior testimony? All right. At this time, I'm going to move on to commissioners and invite commissioners to please ask questions or comment on the study report.
I have sort of a unrelated question, but Jennifer, this hotel replaced another notable building back in the day. Do you recall what that building was?
Yes, hold on. I think we mentioned it. It was the first Museum of Fine Arts.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was constructed in 1872. And we were wondering, and we weren't able to confirm, so we didn't say it in the study report, but we were wondering if they might have used the same wood piles actually, but we're not sure. But yeah, it was the first MFA.
That's right. Thank you.
Commissioner Gagno.
Thanks. First of all, staff, great job on this report. I was lucky to read it just before I went to an event in which I was trundling about many of the first floor public spaces, and so I saw those in a new way, so it was great timing. I feel like the public spaces of this hotel are one of the few places in Boston that I've been many times, and they truly are, you know, I think part of, if you particularly in, you know, if you may have been part of the preservation world because they were the site of Preservation Massachusetts annual awards banquets and other preservation related events over the years, many years. I feel like these are really important public spaces in the city. And I will say that I missed the old version of the oak bar. The oak long bar is very nice and very hopping, but the old version was had its benefits too. And that's one reason why I would support keeping the Singleton and St. James rooms designations in there, just because, you know, managing change in those areas I think is important. And I'll point out to the ownership team that, you know, the other building that came online in 1912 was Fenway Park in Boston. And I think we've seen how the landmarking of that building has demonstrated a lot of flexibility to the ownership to make improvements and changes throughout the years that have really enhanced the viability of that stadium. And, you know, that the flexibility of the commission and the staff, I think, enhanced the commercial value and economic value of that site. So I can't imagine that anything would be different with this building. So thank you very much.
Other commissioners?
I couldn't get my hand to raise. Is that, may I make a quick comment?
Of course.
I absolutely agree with Jeffrey. Thank you for saying all of it. That's great. And I would just add that in regards to the St. James room and Singleton room, because of the flexibility of the commission and the review of the study report, one of the adages we've used for as long as I've been on the commission is err on the side of preservation. So I think it should be included. I trust the staff's take on it. And if issues that affect those rooms come up down the line, it's noted in the report and in the record that there were questions about the amount of change in those rooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Freeman. Anyone else? Okay, if there are no further comments from commissioners, I'm going to ask Jennifer again to go through the next steps in this process.
Yes, as required by the BLC's regulations, written statements may be submitted for the record up until 3 working days following this hearing to the Boston Landmarks Commission at 26 Court Street, Floor 2, Boston, Massachusetts, 02108. Statements may also be emailed to blc@boston.gov. An extension of time for submitting written testimony and a postponement of the designation vote may be granted tonight at the chair's discretion. The public record of this hearing is available upon request to BLC staff at blc@boston.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to say that given the written and verbal testimony that we received about the study report tonight, I believe the commission has the information that is needed to proceed to a vote tonight. Even though the commission will vote on designation tonight, assuming that they vote to accept the study report, staff will continue to accept written testimony for the record until this Friday, March 27th, 2026 at 5 p.m. So, as I alluded to, we're going to take 2 votes. The first vote is to accept the study report, as we have all read and been discussing, and I would accept a motion at this time to accept the study report.
I'll move that we accept the study report.
Okay.
I'll
Liz,
second.
do you want to say something?
Yes,
I
sorry.
do. I just wanted to let you know that Selena Barrios Milner has joined us.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, John Amadeo, you made a motion. Did someone second it?
I did, Felicia.
Felicia, hi. All right, let me just make a count. We can still have all commissioners voting. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Barris Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Gagnon,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So the study report is accepted. And we will now move on to a second vote, which is to accept the designation of the Copley Plaza Hotel as a Boston landmark.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeffrey Gagnon.
I'll second. Oh, John, Amadeo can be the second.
And Amadeo, thank you. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Gagnon,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So the commission, having voted to designate the landmark this evening, means that staff will create a voted designation document that will present the details about the property, a list of commissioners' votes on the designation, and the date of the vote by the Boston Landmarks Commission. The document will be sent to the city clerk, who who advances it through the approximately 45-day mayoral and city council approval processes. The mayor shall transmit her approval or disapproval to the city council within 15 days. The city council then has 30 days in which to overturn by a 2/3 vote a designation approved by the mayor. Once the designation document is returned to the Boston Landmarks Commission by the city clerk, it is ready for the final step, which is recording with the Registry of Deeds. And that concludes this portion of this evening's hearing. Thank you, everybody. Anyone who read an earlier version of the agenda might be thinking we're going to move on to a demolition delay matter that has been pulled from the agenda. And so we move on, I think, just to Liz Sherva and any staff comments.
Great, thanks, Brad. A couple things to point out this month. The next Boston Landmarks Commission hearing will be Tuesday, April 14th at 6 p.m. At the Massachusetts Historical Commission meeting on March 11th of this year, the commission met to vote on FY26 survey and planning grants. A grant was awarded to the Boston Landmarks Commission to conduct a Chinatown survey update. While many buildings in Chinatown have been inventoried over the years, many have not. And additionally, the inventory buildings were documented over 20 years ago. So we will be working with them to identify an exact list of buildings in which we will proceed on updating the survey in Chinatown. Jennifer Doherty, formerly of the Massachusetts Historical Commission, she was the local government's coordinator there, has started a newsletter hosted on Substack titled Preservation Across the Commonwealth. Her newsletter highlights grant opportunities, links to local preservation news articles, lists RFPs and buildings for sale, along with providing information on historical commissions across the Commonwealth. I recommend that you subscribe to see what is happening statewide in historic preservation. The MHC has also purchased a subscription to the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions for all certified local governments, which the Boston Landmarks Commission is one. We are recipients of such membership. The National Alliance of Preservation Commissions puts out a quarterly publication. I will send a PDF of the publication to you all following this evening's meetings. This publication is really focusing on Minnesota and Minneapolis, and that is where the Alliance is holding their semi-annual meeting. And I want to say it's a very good issue, and I'm not biased because I'm from Minnesota, but I kind of am. And that's all I have for this evening. Chair Walker, back to you.
Liz, just because I was writing it down, the Substack is called Preservation Across the Commonwealth.
Yep, and I've got a screenshot here on the slide for everyone.
There it is.
There it is. Preservation Across the Commonwealth.
All you have to do is go ahead.
She's got a couple postings up already and news articles linked, different agendas. I know she's also putting up demolition delays in other communities. And it's a really interesting place just to go, where she's really pulled information from all towns and cities across the state.
Very nice.
John, were you going to say something? John Freeman?
Or just if you Google Substack and then the name, it's so easy to subscribe. I did it in the moment that while you were reading the next notice.
Great.
So it's very easy to get on there.
And the Alliance review, I'll send a PDF to everybody after the meeting, and that's the way you'll receive that.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any news updates or things they want to share? Questions or concerns about Jacob Worth? Should we talk about that? No? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Jeff Haney makes that motion.
Thank you, Jeffrey Haney. And a second, please.
I'll second, Brad.
I think I got Justine on that. Voice vote, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Oh, no.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.